Welcome back
Hi,
to your
Vera.
Family Office podcast, special Christmas edition. I'm your co-host, Colten Ratz, and today we're bringing a year-end conversation that couldn't be more timely, covering everything from global migration to health and wealth to what family office investors should be preparing for heading into 2026. I'm joined by three incredible voices in the family office world. First, I'd like to welcome my co-host, the phenomenal Karen Melanie Gold, founder and CEO of the Footprints Family Office Association, one of the most trusted communities for family offices across the UK and Europe. Karen, thank you as always for bringing the heart to the conversation. We're also honored to be joined by Per Wimmer, investor, adventurer, and founder of Wimmer Family Office, Wimmer Financial, and Wimmer Space. Per brings a global macro lens and firsthand insight into how policy, taxation, and global mobility are reshaping where families and their capital relocate. And finally, we have Jason Ma, founder and CEO of 3EQ, chief mentor to ultra high net worth families, global investor, B20, G20 contributor, and one of the most respected voices in next gen leadership, geopolitics, and long term family wealth strategy. Per, Jason, Karen, welcome to the show, and let's go ahead and dive right in. I thought it'd be best if we kind of start off talking about the non-dom migration and global mobility, just because that is such a relevant topic. So we have seen record wealth migration over the last 24 months. What are you guys seeing driving this global movement of families and capital, would you say?
Well, I can happily start here. First and foremost, it's obviously fiscal concerns that are driving people around from place to place. We see a huge outflow out of the UK, Europe, to well-known fiscal-friendly destinations such as Monaco, Dubai, Milan, Portugal, Malta, Greece, etc. And that's just in Europe. In the US, we see equal amounts of population trends coming from California to Texas, or indeed from New York to Florida. It is incredible how much has happened over the past couple of years in terms of mobility. The global elite and wealthy people and family offices are indeed on the move. Of the fundamental problem, of course, we have in Europe is the huge level of debt that we're all facing. I mean, European countries on average are running close to 100% or more debt to GDP ratios. In the UK, we're getting very close to it. France is just sort of tipped over. Italy is notorious for having 140%, and Greece, as we know, is high as well. So as these debt levels are high and the demand on the public purse is high, governments are increasingly forced to increase the tax take, not because they think it's a great strategy necessarily, but just out of desperation, because they need to fund public services, they need to fund their hospitals, and importantly, they need to fund their coupons, the cost of the debt, which is extraordinarily high. I mean, here in the UK, to give you an example, we could run a second NHS in parallel for the cost that it cost us to run the debt. That is the amount of money that we spend every year on servicing the debt. It's close to 10%. It's a lot. So this is the fundamental problem. And as the tax take therefore increases little by little, the global elite or wealth and family offices move around to more friendly jurisdictions.
Yeah, I really appreciate that breakdown. And when a family does consider relocating, what do you think the biggest mistake or blind spot you see, like structurally, tax wise, or operationally?
I would say that first and foremost, there's two considerations. One is the rational, pure, calculated financial side of things, but the other part, which is equally important, is the personal side of things. And we all have personal lives and things that are different from family to family. So some people would want to be in Europe because they got to be close to where the action is, and therefore the lens would quite quickly zoom in on Milan or maybe Portugal or maybe Greece, which has shown up recently with a very kind and generous 100 grand offer. Fewer people are heading for Malta just because it's quite tiny and yes, it's attractive, but it's a little bit boring perhaps in the long run. Although it's quite popular with the French speaking as a structuring place. And of course, there's Cyprus as well, which for some has also found the family and indeed what goes on with the rest of schools and whatever is also a very important consideration.
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And Karen, Jason, you guys have anything to go ahead and add to that?
Well, let Jason go, because obviously I'm going to echo what Per said, because he's talking from mostly a UK perspective.
Well, I think pretty much second what Per mentioned, and of course, it's a financial side, like tax savings, which is important, and family offices, ultra net worth individuals and families, of course, believe in the value of wealth preservation and growth. And on a personal side, I find South Florida is kind of attractive to me. So in due course, myself, I might be eyeing to God willing, to add a residence because of warm winters. How's that? I was in Miami, and I enjoy Palm Beach as well. Just last week for pre-Art Basel, and I just prefer a warmer climate.
Yeah, I'm currently in Chicago, and it's about 0 degrees here, so I'm right there with you. But yeah, kind of going off that, do you think this migration trend accelerates or slows heading into 2026, and why?
I would certainly argue that it accelerates. We have seen over the past few years an acceleration going on. In fact, this year is the first year in the UK where the UK is a world leader in export of millionaires net. Henley expects the UK to export 16,500 net multimillionaires out of the country this year, mostly for fiscal reasons, which therefore take the top spot, which previously had been occupied by China with about 8,000. So it's definitely accelerating. It's not slowing down. But there comes a point, obviously, where you start to deplete sort of the candidates for exits, etc. I do see that it will continue into 2026. And then thereafter, there probably will be a little bit of a slowdown, simply because so many people have decided to relocate. It is incredible when I sit here in Mayfair, right in the heart of St. James's, where our office is, to observe how many of my friends, colleagues in the family offices, UBOs, that effectively have moved away. And a few, last year, the conversation was not so much, are you going to move? It's more about where you're going to move to. It was sort of immediately understood you are going to move somewhere because you have to. Non-dom has been cancelled, etc. So where are you going to go? And yeah, now that has happened. On the other side of the coin, the one destination that's the most the biggest beneficiary of arrival of millionaires is effectively in Dubai and UAE, and they expect to have 10,000 net millionaires coming in this year. So that's an incredible influx of people, and they're obviously benefiting from it. And in many ways, if you go down to Dubai, you will see it's almost like being in an environment that was like London was 10 years ago. Very positive attitudes. Let's collaborate. Let's all co-invest. Let's do stuff together. Whereas in Mayfair, it's often, I just lost my phone and I got robbed, and it's a little bit more depressing. So the attitude has changed, and yeah, it's just global mobility that dictates all this.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate that answer. It's a little echo going on. Do you guys hear that?
I do hear a hissing sound.
Yes. I would just like to say there are some new. I mean, every time I speak to a family office, So this morning I spoke to a Swiss family office that I've known for about 15 years, and they were actually not in their house in Switzerland. They were in Barcelona, in their home, but they were flitting between that and Mauritius too. And then Dubai, they do have a presence in Dubai as well, Abu Dhabi. But they were also one of the things that they gave me some advice today is I know you do your London conference, the global one, which is the 1st to the 4th of July next year. But Karen, have you thought about moving that to an area where maybe would seem more advantageous and appealing? And so I said, okay, well, where do you think? You mean where you want to go? Because he said, well, I don't really come into London that much. And I'm hearing that quite often, that we don't come to London anymore. So yes, Portugal did come up. Milan did, and also some outsiders that I hadn't considered. I know Greece is favourable now for retirees, our UK, those that want to retire. But also I've been speaking to some family officers, ultra high net worth out of Miami, who'd actually come across from Mexico, and I spoke to one from Brazil as well, who'd gone to Miami. So there's a lot of changes, a lot of, I think it's becoming the family office a bit like the nomads. Never mind the tech nomads, it's the family office nomads.
Yeah, that's a great point, Karen. And yeah, I think that's a great transition too. We kind of want to keep things moving and kind of dive into the health and wealth within the family office space. So kind of going off of that, health and wealth are becoming deeply intertwined. How do you guys think ultra high net worth families are redefining well-being as part of their wealth strategy, would you say?
I don't think it's being redefined so much. I mean, there's always been, you've got to have a healthy life, and both financially and otherwise. Longevity perhaps has starting to take a bigger space. You see more longevity conferences, more focus on that. So if there's any incremental difference, it's maybe the importance of longevity, which increasingly pops up in conversations, etc. But it's a smaller theme compared to, say, the global travel theme and mobility theme, where people are forced to move around and to spend more time in certain locations, primarily to satisfy their fiscal situation. That's definitely the overarching theme of what's going on at the moment, and definitely number one. But as sort of sub themes, I mean, there's all sorts of investment things going on. Longevity is one thing. AI, huge theme, huge theme, is revolutionizing the world. It's the new internet, and that has certainly also caught the attention of family offices. It will transform lots of businesses. Yes, there'll be a lot of money lost, just like .com, but you are going to see some amazing winners that come out of it, including in the .com times, Amazon and eBay. Who knows what the new winners are going to be called? Are they going to be called OpenAI or Anthropic? Who knows? But there will be some amazing winners coming out of it, no doubt. So all of that is something that people are focusing on within the family office world, in addition to themes like aerospace and defense. Within aerospace, a lot of private capital is rushing in at the moment because there's opportunities, because a lot of outsourced contract out of NASA and the agencies, as well as other private companies. And defense, of course, with all the US presidents talk about increased NATO spending and having Europe pick up their part of the tab, close up to 5%. You see an enormous amount of defense funds popping up here and there and everywhere, and a rush into defense themes. And that's certainly something we see in the family office space, in addition to more traditional focus areas such as real estate. Lots of family offices are involved in real estate. We certainly are. We finance real estate across UK and Europe. as well as traditional private equity and VC for some. So yeah, those are the themes.
So wealth, health, and happiness is really nothing new. And for those sort of astute and acutely aware, family offices and ultra net worth families, right? When you look at basic human needs, we're here to contribute, we're here to grow. And growing means ourselves, our family, our next gens, and to derive a bit of significance doing that. And the connectivity, relationship, the love within the family is very, very important, and a sense of a certainty and some fun variety there. And, next gens are certainly important as the wealth transfer, the great wealth transfer, right? Up there in double-digit percentage or number, double-digit trillions going to get transferred primarily from the boomers to the next gens and to charities, quite a bit to charities. Those are important. I think, as a parent myself of a couple of Gen Z adults, I really care about next gens. And I think, Colten, you're going to have a question about that later on, right? And if that's the case, I'll be happy to go deeper in responding to that question. And when it comes to what Per has mentioned, it's about wealth preservation and growth. On the growth side, for those more entrepreneurial family offices and ultra net worth, and there are certain spaces or categories or sectors that are especially delicious moving forward. And when it comes to, I've been in global Silicon Valley for over 5 decades, way before you're born, right, Colten? And there's nothing I haven't seen in terms of, I kind of jokingly say that the ugly, the bad, the neutral, the good, and the great, ways and means, and the trends and the herd mentality and a true innovation. And I could go deeper in that if you like, but for family offices, right? Space, absolutely. Defense tech. Now the Department of Defense in the US is called the Department of War, which is actually a bit more accurate. Because war without offense, you're not going to win anything. Your great defense for a sports team is not going to win anything. You have to have great offense as well. The reality is that the preparation is there. And the reality is that the 2 biggest elephants in the room are really the US and China worldwide. Let's face it. And, AI, there is Jensen Huang is laughing all the way to the bank. NVIDIA, AMD, the chips, the data centers, the capacity, the energy, very exciting. The US is way behind China in some ways, but there's a lot of innovation going on right now. It's very, very exciting. There's a lot of, investment opportunities from the lowest stage all the way to the upper stack, right? The AI solution stack and ecosystem. So the chips, the data centers, the energy that feeds into it. In fact, more and more data centers are built right on top of the natural gas sources. And then micro and, kind of the nuclear is coming along. It's going to take a little bit. And there are some other energy sources as well. And then you have the, cloud AI, the edge AI, the applied AI. That's where a lot of the margins are. That's where you might get your 100x, not 1, 2, 3x in a number of years. And if the entrepreneurs are smart enough to create new categories, and I'm not sure whether you have an extra question on that later on, Colten. If you do, I'll be happy to address that at that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, with your 3EQ and 4S framework, they're reshaping how next gens lead. How do you think emotional and mental fitness influence long-term family success, would you say?
Huge. I think, frankly speaking, the most important thing to improve is really ourselves as the matriarch, patriarchs, and our children. Okay, because without human capital, my friend Dan Aniello, he's one of the 3 billionaire co-founders of the renowned Carlyle Group. He said that human capital is more important than financial capital, especially right now augmented by AI, right? So each one of us, whether we are technical or not, I'm technical. I came from a Berkeley engineering background. That's my education. But I think that 99.9% of my know-how is actually after I graduated university, right? And that's where we picked up stuff. The older I get, the more creative I get. I don't know why. Maybe it's all him. So the creativity combined with the methodology, the analytical, the synthesis thinking, right? and the creative thinking, all that is very, very important. We have to keep improving our spirit. If you have a great spirit, fantastic, keep that. If not, there's something to work on. Our mindset, especially when it comes to AI tech investing, you got to have a strong visionary growth mindset. I hate to say it, but I see so many investors, my friends of mine, that have impolitely, I would say that some of them actually have some fixed mindset issues, some linear thinking issues, sometimes small thinking issues. If you want to make it big, if you want to have a high probability of success in investing in AI tech in the upper stack where your MOIC, your multiple on invested capital is higher, you have to have a visionary mindset, okay? Now, my 4S and 3EQ is my own mentorship framework, and I've been doing that for over 20,000 hours, maybe 25,000 hours. So with wisdom and experience comes the precision, right? You become a bit of a marksman. One shot, you hit the mark. I was in Brazil 2 years ago for the B20, G20 summit. The young people tell me, hey, Mr. Ma, we young people, we're like monkeys holding machine gun. We spend a lot of time, we still miss. That cracked me up, by the way. So wiser people, one shot hit it, boom. And I get my 8 hours of sleep. I wake up peaceful. I wake up on average grateful and inspired. 4S stands for visionary story, your character, your belief system. I'm simplifying, okay? And then state stands for your spirit, your emotional, mental state of mind management. I tend to condition my students, whether you're a high school student or a 60-year-old entrepreneur, my private mentees, to spend more and more time in these higher energy, more productive, happier states. You're going to get more things done. You're happier with less time. Wouldn't you like that? And then the strategies could be your work, if you're working, could be academics, could be activities, could be your university, college apps. It's kind of complicated and competitive, especially if we're dealing with high achievers. And there's all sorts of interconnected strategies. This feeds into that, that feeds into that. And then the skills part, a lot of it is really soft skills, right? Because hard skills could get obsolete pretty quickly. You have to become pretty expert or proficient in applying AI gen, which is simply a big part of the species of AIs out there. So soft skills, I have a 4 cornerstone. It stands for critical thinking, strategic thinking, decision making, and then curiosity, lifelong learning, and then communication, one-on-one Socratic. Listening is very important. We got 2 ears. Speaking, I just finished chairing the Opal Group's Emerging Manager Summit and also moderating his panel. I'll be on a panel, the closing panel for another summit today, the Alternative Investing Summit, and then going to go to a private lunch by this famous movie star or TV star, Kelsey Grammer, later. So the skills part, your first-person essay writing, people like to read about your anecdotes and your kind of personal thing, right? That's important to them. Finally, execution. When I say 3EQ, it stands for pragmatic, meaning results-oriented, practical, emotional, social, and leadership intelligence. Emotional intelligence, social intelligence, the ability to communicate well, sincerely with other people, and inspire, contribute, and listen and learn and connect. And leadership intelligence. You make it a bit more money as a leader and a bit more impactful. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a bit of my very oversimplification of my own mentorship framework as a chief mentor of next-gen leaders. Next-gens, to me, could be Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, could be even boomer, right? Young at heart. Young at heart is important.
Definitely. Yeah, I really appreciate it. That was a great breakdown. And yeah, really appreciate you kind of going into that. And would like to, kind of start to reflect a little bit on 2025. So maybe before we dive into some of the trends for 2026, Karen, what do you think would be like one lesson from 2025 that family should absolutely carry with them into 2026? If there's something that you could think of, if not, per Jason, you guys got anything?
I'd like to just throw in, if I may, gentlemen, excuse my voice. I've got a very bad cold and I'm trying to be able to speak for Thursday for our event. I would like, because we are covering reflection in order to go forward for trends, and having listened at our events this year and conferences in London, and also I on average do speak to a family office, if not several, every day, and I always ask them this question, particularly this time of year. And what I'd like to see, and I think particularly where the UK, I think they regret or are questioning why they haven't done more collaboration with other family offices to co-invest, because it do risk and it makes sense. Whereas I've always found them very reluctant in the UK, as opposed, for example, if you look at the top 7 family offices in New York, and over the years we have had all those attend our global summer conference. I not only do they know each other very well, but they actually do, co-invest. And whereas I've always found in the UK there has been a reluctance and it doesn't happen so much. I have seen, though, in the last 2 years, because it's been so difficult, we got fewer and fewer
Mm,
family offices here, so there's not that many. But I have seen them starting to collaborate,
mhm,
not just within the UK, but the US and Europe. Though we had, a family office, Ian Morley, who's a friend of Per, who actually said on here last month he would not be looking at US at all.
mhm.
Um, and so it was a personal opinion. But I've also found here in the UK that I am being asked for introductions to other family offices globally that are in certain space, which I'm very happy to do those introductions. So particularly longevity health is number one. And another one that's come up in the last 2 years has been sports tech. So I'll leave it there.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Colton, reflection. I think, Karen's made a very good point. I think not all, right? Of course, I would never overgeneralize anything, but on average, Europeans and also including Brits are a little bit too guarded. Because we Americans, right? We are a bit more kind of the risk capitals here. Risk capital. You have to have the innovation mindset. And if I could reflect, frankly speaking, we all know that change is constant, maybe accelerating, especially given AI. And even for China, their top priorities were AI tech, right? US and China, the dominance. And there's a lot of stuff going on there. And the collaboration is happening naturally in the US. Some family offices, of course, depends on the grade, on the level of family offices, right? You might have ones that are still just merely ultra net worth in the double digit net worth, and you got the centimillionaires. My joke is that the ordinary centimillionaires, the 100 million to 900 million, and then you got the billionaires. So once you get to the multi-billionaire level, of course, be a bit more conservative because they want to protect and preserve, right? It's understandable. And they typically have a massive staff helping them. The staff are measured differently than the principals. The principals, their money, they own it. But the staff, their metrics, performance metrics are a bit different. And you also have to kind of be cognizant who you're dealing with, correct? So my friends tend to be the principals of a family offices or the parents or even the next gens. I deal with them directly. That's my own preference. Save a lot of time that way, right? And, the reflection is that no matter what, you gotta be more fluid, more adaptable, resilient, and learn. I'm serious, right? Because the joke for some Americans looking at the EU is that the innovations are regulations. There's more regulation to make it even more onerous for entrepreneurship. That's not good. That prevents you to be innovate. Then it's more, kind of austerity, kind of more conservative. If you're not able to innovate, if you're not able to go out there and create new categories and all that, you're gonna get left behind. That's how it works, right? So we Americans, we are great. In fact, Americans are actually kind of similar in some ways. We're entrepreneurial. You have to have that entrepreneurial mindset. When it comes to investing, there's 2 types of investors. I'm making it very simple. The entrepreneurial investors who place bets on the team, the moat, some sort of defensible technology or huge market or they believe that the team that they invest in, they could execute. Okay. And sometimes whenever I hear investors saying that, oh, I'm going to do massive due diligence, DD, on a startup, that tells me that they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. If the startup is disrupting a large industry, they're disrupting them. You're DDing what? You're DDing to make sure that the team are not serial killers. I'm joking with you, right? That's one DD. And then they're disrupting the metrics of the legacy industry. You have to kind of understand that. You have to place bets and understand and evaluate and risk mitigate, of course, right? IP, technology, market, competition, people, those are very important. And build value is how you win. Similarly within the family, you want to build value in terms of taking care of your next gens, get them great, mentorship, groom them so that they could either take over or they would go on their own path, but they would preserve and elevate your legacy, your relationship, your peace of mind, which is what parents want, okay? As a matriarch, as a patriarch, we want peace of mind. We want peace of mind. Let me get rid of this sun. I'm at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, so I'm seeing a little bit of reflection here. Here we go. Better, right? A little bit better. This beautiful sunset. I'm watching a beautiful ocean in front of me. So in summary, I would say my reflection is that recognize that AI, especially Gen AI, there's other AI coming in, it's going to disrupt our lives, our work even further. So make sure that the whole collective mindset, individual mindsets is going to learn and really adapt and improve. Okay, it's very, very important, especially for Europeans.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a great point, Jason. And Per, do you have anything to add on for any lessons for 2025? Maybe what surprised you most with family offices, like macro or geopolitical perspective?
It certainly hasn't been a boring year. We do anticipate that to continue into next year, both when it comes to geopolitics. Hopefully, we'll have a little bit more peace in our world than we had in 2025. But geopolitics certainly will continue to play a role. In terms of investments, obviously, there's some great themes we talked about a minute ago, and I think some of those will continue. It is incredible to see how much capital that's going into the tech space and AI space at the moment. It is extraordinary amounts, and one wonders whether there will be a return for all of that capital going in. You're talking about billions and billions, and I strongly suspect there'll be a lot of sort of casualties in that mix, and there'll be some amazing winners. So if you're lucky, you'll do great. I mean, obviously, Nvidia today with a 5 trillion market cap has a market cap that's bigger than the entire London Stock Exchange. Would you believe it? Which is a 3.5 trillion, or indeed bigger than Holland, Spain, and Italy put together as we sit here today. So obviously an amazing winner today. Whether it's going to sustain or not, let's see. Certainly, Michael Burry, famous for the Big Short, takes a negative view on that. He was obviously early in the credit crunch, putting on negative bets on mortgages and the housing market. We shall see what ends up happening here. But there certainly are some very structural themes. I do think that the area of the internet and the area of AI is different. You do see some very real cash flow generation this time around. You do see some higher margins, certainly in the Mac 7, the big tech companies. So there are a degree of justification, even though the S&P 500 is hitting all-time highs at the moment, etc. You can justify to a large extent some of it via current earnings. Now, these companies are going to have to spend a lot, so capex goes out the window, and we'll see whether there's a return on that in the future. But certainly, those themes will continue, and will be dominating into next year. Obviously, the other area we haven't talked so much about is metals, particularly precious metals, gold, silver. Silver hitting $55. Gold past $4,000, and continuing. I mean, it looks quite strong and supported here. That's incredible. Obviously, the value of currency is going down, and therefore physical metal has is a good storage of value. Another theme within that kind of related space we see is energy. Jason touched upon it, and I could only concur. There are estimates that by 2030, the combined operating data centers around the world will consume up to 3% of the entire electricity generation in the world. Now, that's huge. That's absolutely massive. That is the equivalent of the entire Japan in a year. So you're talking about energy demands shifting by an enormous amount, and therefore we are going to have to build a lot more nuclear power generation. There's no two ways about it. Otherwise, you're not going to get there. Now, that takes time and requires a lot of uranium, so that creates a particularly strong opportunity, but also other alternative sources of energy. Wind, solar, hydro is another big one, because you need base load in this energy mix, as well as electric cars and what have you. So there are some big themes going on here, particularly within the energy sector, and a lot of that is AI driven and technology driven. And some of those themes we're looking to continue to look into and invest in going into 2026. So lots on the plate, lots to think about, lots to analyze, and hopefully some exciting bets to be put on.
Right. If I could add on to what Per mentioned, right, there are two things that I want to touch on. Geopolitics is one of the topics that I get invited to speak about all the time, everywhere, almost every single summit, right? The biggest risk is actually government regulations. So it's good to keep track and what's going on and make the right prognosis and predictions and all that. And when it comes to returns on AI and tech, absolutely. Like I mentioned, it depends on what you invest in. When you invest in basic infrastructure, we need that in the US especially, okay? My joke and my frustration in Silicon Valley, where I live, where we're supposed to be the most influential place except for maybe DC and Beijing, but we all have this third world country infrastructure. Oh my God, the wireless coverage is so bad, etc. It's pathetic in Silicon Valley, in many parts of the US, right? The good news is that there's a lot of infrastructure improvement ahead of us, and that's not even data centers, right? And when you go higher, the margins get higher, the opportunities get higher, the potential multiple on multiple on invested capital gets higher. So the applied AI part is part of my own AI tech venture. Very, very exciting. Like for me, we're building another, what I believe is that there's a potential $100 billion valuation in a couple of years type of opportunity. So those startups do exist. Depends on a combination of your protected tech and your business model combined, what problems you were solving, how much value you were adding to the community, to the markets, and what you're disrupting. Whenever you're disrupting something big, a legacy industry, you're going to make enemies out of the legacy industry that you can disrupt. It is what it is, right? So in Silicon Valley, worldwide, if you're doing something big, not just a follower as number 7 in a category that exists already, you're creating a new category. So the mindset there, the strategy, the vision is very, very important. In addition to the talent of the team. So those reflections, right? I speak about geopolitics, AI tech, family office trends, leadership, legacy, next gens, even elite university missions all the time, right? So much observation. And one excitement from my standpoint is that the US is going to finally host and preside the G20. I've been part of that for the past 11 years. One of the few Americans who sit on the Global Business Council, the business forum, the B20. So I'm very, very excited about that as well. So much to talk about, so little time, Colten.
I would say just one little add-on to Jason's comments there on infrastructure and governments in particular. I think one big theme that one is a bit nervous about looking into next year and beyond is the amount of government debt and the continuous budget deficits that we are running. The bond market so far has been very kind and has not been too punishing, except when Trump had his Liberation Day, well, the terrorist was announced and things like that, where the bond market actually woke up and suddenly there was a little bit of reverse gear going on. as a result of, because don't forget, the bond markets are the ultimate arbiter of what happens in terms of the government's behavior. So when they go, and when you look at when you run in the US a budget deficit of 6-7%, and in many European countries, not something dissimilar, and you have debt to GDP ratios of 100% or more and rising. I mean, in the UK, if we did nothing else in the UK and we continued the path we're on right now, we would hit 200% debt to GDP by 2050. And this is not my words; it's according to the OBR. So there's something potentially dangerous out there when it comes to government debt levels, the impact on the bond market, and also the provision of social services, everything from social security to hospitals and healthcare, etc. And if we are not careful, we're going to end up in a situation where spending is going up, debt is going up because it's constantly being underfunded, and we're running at budget deficits. And at some point, something's going to give, and then that's going to be pretty painful, because if the bond market starts to respond, you're going to get penalized with larger coupons and therefore bigger take of everything, and it becomes a very negative spiral. And at that point, you do stand at risk of having much more civil unrest and a lot more problems, social problems, class problems, and that's a terrible situation. You do see a little bit of it at the moment with the polarization of politics going more out to the extreme left or right, and less in the center. So we do have the early warning sign. The bond market also provides some warning signs. I mean, we saw UK gilts hitting 5.7% early in September when Keir Starmer surrounded himself with new economic advisors, because let's keep it in check with the Chancellor, because we're not sure we trust her 100%. So the warning signs are there, and you've got to be very careful, because suddenly you start to get moves that are draconian, and that can have an enormous impact on businesses, on jobs, on social unrest, etc. So this is something one could be a bit concerned about looking into 2026 and beyond.
It is a large issue. The debt crisis, the U.S. is about $38 trillion in debt now, and
rising by a trillion every 100 days. Every 100 days, we add another trillion to the mix. That's
right. And then the interest rates that we pay, it's far greater than the budget of a defense, and it is a issue. And not to mention China, Japan, etc. The debt ratio is pretty high too. So we got the U.S. and China actually are. It's sort of like kicking the can down the road. But the big brothers, the powers to be, right, still kind of control the world. But it's actually good for the U.S. dollar not to be taken away. Of course, the global South and China trying to kind of adjust that equation a little bit. But it's going to be a very and then Trump, the Trump 2.0, 2.5 administration, they are doing quite a bit of good things. It's not perfect. Kind of like pro-growth is very important. Like grow the GDP percentage by a couple of percent higher, which is spectacular when you look at the humongous market, the GDP for the U.S., $30-something trillion, and innovation, and then kind of get rid of a lot of stupid regulations that prevent business and growth, and all that is like growth, right? Pro-business. We have to grow ourselves partially out of that, and then kind of keep on sustaining a more stable world. And when you see like stopping wars, and there's a lot of geopolitical situation, right, in Indo-Pacific, in Europe, and making that, it's sort of like I think it's fair in some ways for the NATO to up your ante, because you've been sort of like skimming off the big brother. So in a way, there's a lot of relationship. There's a lot of egos from a government standpoint and from a private sector standpoint. It's a very tender equation. So we live in a world that is ever changing and turbulent. So that's why I go back to the most important thing is to make sure that we keep on learning and improving. Don't be a complacent, or we're gonna get into a more uncomfortable situation. I call it the rate of problem solving within your family better net exceed the rate of problem accumulation. And with AI tech and deepfake, for sure, Colten, Per, and Karen, you're gonna have evil coming at you that might duplicate how you look, and that. So those are things that are coming already. Like for me, I have evil coming to me on a daily basis, right? I have to be on top of that with solutions, rather than say be fearful. The devil wants you to be fearful. How's that? Okay, the devil want to destroy you. The devil want to accuse you, lie to you, and to distract you. So we as human beings, children of God, it's good for us to be astute and keep improving, recognizing how the world really works. And it's getting the turbulent equation, the change equation, it's accelerating. So
Yeah, definitely. Those are great points. And you guys actually answered most of my questions I had for the family office trends for 2026 already. So, very insightful stuff. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add? Kind of any other trends for 2026 that you wanted to touch on? Otherwise, we kind of move forward. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about community and collaboration. I know Karen, you got your footprints Christmas edition coming up December 11th. I know Per you're going to be there as well. Why do you feel these curated conversations matter more than ever in the family office world?
Well, I think for this one that we're doing, this is the first time, so it's our 16th year that we've actually changed our Christmas event to make it more informal, because it's Christmas and because normally we're quite conservative in the structure of our events and conferences. And though I have to say the panel discussion is the piece de resistance in terms of my popularity with my events with family offices, because they like to get involved. But we found for this one, we'll let people enjoy more, network more, communicate, and I think have a few, good food, good wine, good company, and for the community, raising money for Solidarity Sports, which is our disadvantaged children's charity. And I think it's very important to bring the community, the family office, the ultra high network, and indeed next year, I have been advised to throw businesses or entrepreneurs, if we've got any left, that are not family offices, but they operate as family offices. And which I will indeed, it'll be nice to bring fresh, new to the mix. So we'll start that next year in March 27th, our Easter one. And I look at after this in the new year, I always send out, obviously not this year, we just do a happy Christmas, whatever, all the best for the new year. But in the new year, we give everyone time to get back, and particularly our family offices, because we know they don't go back early, and it's normally mid-Jan, late Jan. So what we always ask what topics. I don't choose the topics for discussion. I let my regular members choose. So if it's a more UK centred one, which the evening next on Thursday is, and the one in spring, obviously it's going to be my UK family offices. But next summer, I've already started on that, and we've already had ideas about what they want to speak about, what they want on the what they would like to discuss on the panel. So I think it's listening, and I think bringing in new areas. I mean, we have had, funny enough, but we've not been slow in responding to this. I've always tackled the elephant in the room. I am a little bit maverick myself. And we've done things like mental health, addiction problems with family offices. And at first, when we first tackled it, it was very quiet in the room. No one spoke. And they thought, what is she doing now? But as we now get asked to have that back, that mental health, addictions, and even a biggie that we've had twice we've covered, loneliness. And particularly with the younger family office that seem to be facing tremendous loneliness. And I think I'm going to say from my point of view, when I socialize with them, because a lot of family offices become my friends and I socialize with them, and I feel, very honored and privileged and blessed to be there. But sometimes when I've spent quite a bit of time with some of them, particularly the younger generation, I wouldn't want to be in their shoes. So I'll leave it there.
That's one of the topic I speak about all the time. That's one of the things that I do in a subset in my one-on-one mentoring coaching with people, next gens, young people, teenagers, young adults, even 60-something-year-old entrepreneurs or executives or SFO CEOs, right? Because being lonely at the top or being lonely as teenagers, there are actually solutions to that. Okay, and I'm very clear on the causes. I'm not sure whether I have time in this particular segment, Colten, to talk about that, but I'll be very happy to contribute on that as one of the many, many topics. There are solutions, okay? There are clear, practical solutions to that, so.
Yeah, that I appreciate you kind of tackling that topic, and it seems like it's a common topic kind of in the family office space. So, yeah, I'd love to. I know we've been on here for a while, so I just want to be generous to everyone's time, but I would love to, have a in-depth conversation with you, Jason. Maybe um, start of next year, we could go into deep detail into that. But just kind of, I just have one more question, and then we'll do the conclusion. I know we're getting close to, it's been going pretty long. So, but just kind of, I was curious just to pick your guys' brains. What do you guys think makes a strong, trusted family office community today? What separates, genuine collaboration from noise?
So we keep a very open and real dialogue here. At Wimmer Family Office, we have an open door policy to all the family offices. Always welcome to come in for a coffee, explore what we do, and hopefully find some areas of collaboration. Worst case, we have an enjoyable time. And if you keep things real and you have good relationships and treat people right, then it's a long-term winning strategy, I would say. So that's the policy we have here, and it's always very enjoyable to sit down and listen to other people's stories, their entrepreneurial journey, exchange notes. We've all been through the ups and downs and different journeys in our lives, and if you take the time and have the patience, you can learn a lot from other people, and we certainly do so. And nobody has a monopoly on wisdom or on knowledge. So you can indeed, with great benefit, A, have a great team, which I happen to have here in London, and B, collaborate with other great family offices on deals and do great things together. And together as a team, we are much stronger. And the same goes to the community, the family office community in a wider sense. Together we are stronger, and you can do a lot of great due diligence, soft and hard, with other family offices. You can put in phone calls if you have the relationship on a certain thing you're looking into and get some great DD. I mean, I'll give you an example, slightly on the soft side, but nevertheless, we had one of our interns who was here years and years ago, and there was a guy who did a great job. He went on to do other things, working for a real estate fund later. One day I get a call from another family office who is also in the real estate investment business, and this particular person had been offered the top job to become CEO, managing director for this particular real estate investment activities that they do. I got the call because we have a relationship, and the person on the other end had clearly seen our name on the CV, and therefore did the right thing. Asked, "What do you think? Is it a good one or a bad one?" And fortunately, I could hand on heart say this was a fantastic candidate. You should definitely push ahead and hire him, and they did. So today he is the managing director of this particular thing. So the family office network is incredibly kicking and alive, and very, very useful to be able to tap into.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great story. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I second with what Per mentioned. In fact, Per, you and I are pretty similar in terms of our value system in that context, right? Relationship comes first, trust and relationship. And for me, if you make friends with me, I tend to kind of loyal to my friends long term. That's how I think, right? It's a long term process. Occasional transaction if I see there's a potential fit between you and me. But if I pass, if you pass, doesn't mean that it's going to decrease our relationship. I see some people doing that. Don't do that. Keep the relationship. Don't decrease it. And I always say that I always enjoy socializing with each other. I learn so much, even though people, I'm a known speaker. But when I go to these summits and events and private events and all that, I learn so much just talking to people. And I'm very meticulous too. Maybe it's my engineering background, but I'm pretty creative today. I take notes, right? And each contact that I have, it'll blow people away that I know exactly what we talked about 7.9 years ago. Here's where we met, what we talked about, bullets and all that. That blows people away. It's kind of like AI and machine learning. Without data, AI doesn't mean anything. You have to have the data to feed into the machine, right? Same thing. Why don't you do that as a human being as well? So in summary, trust, relationship, a bit of comfort, it's important as well. Sometimes be bold, a little bit discomfort, nothing wrong with that. Don't get all flustered and move on. And maybe it's a learning moment for each one of us. If I make a mistake, Daddy would be the first person to raise my hand. I made a mistake, I messed up, but I learned from that, right?
Yeah.
And I repent and I move on. That's a growth experience. Same thing with friends and acquaintances and strangers. And and because I'm known in this speaking circuit and all that, I said, when you meet people for the first time, please do your first question, don't ask them, what do you do? That is so blunt and impersonal and transactional. I hate that when people do that. That means that this guy or this gal is not that seasoned in social intelligence. Be kinder, ask them sincerely what's important to you, or something a bit more relational, rather than bluntly and kind of like, what do you do? It's like, no, don't do that. So
Yeah,
relational.
that's a great point. Yeah, all you guys had such wonderful points, and I really appreciate you guys hopping on here. And so that's pretty much all the questions I have. I have a closeout section. So what we like to do for the closeout, we do a rapid fire kind of question. So it'll be like, so we'll go one at a time, and then next person. So we'll start with Karen. Do you mind if you go first?
Absolutely
We'll go
not. No.
ladies first, and then Per, you could go, and Jason. So I'll just kind of ask a question, and then you give an answer, either a one-word answer or a sentence answer, and then it's just rapid fire. We'll go through like 3 or 4, and then I have a little closeout section, and we'll be on our way. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Cool.
Awesome. So here's a Christmas special rapid fire. So the first one, Karen, you're gonna go ahead and start us off.
Are you going to ask me to sing?
No, I won't.
I've got my little jingles on.
Yeah, you're prepared though. But first one is one word to describe 2025.
2025 was a bit of a bummer for me on lots of levels, professionally and personally and health-wise, but I've got the all clear. So I've learned an awful lot about certain people this year. So it's been a journey. It's been a bumpy journey, but I'm ready to embrace 2026.
Yeah, I feel you there. Per, you want to go?
Yes, 2025 has been an interesting year with challenges and opportunities, and I think we're well prepared for 2026. Very much look forward to what's in store for that year. I hope it's going to be a great year.
Mhm.
Well said.
One word, huh?
Or
Wow.
one sentence.
Wow.
However.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going with wow? I like that.
Oh, no. I think fast changing, challenging, grateful, very intriguing, I find. So I look forward to 2026. I think it's going to be a great year, 2026.
Oh, that carries me into the next question. It's one prediction for 2026. Karen, if you want to start us off.
Oh yes. I know that I'm going to see more collaboration between family offices in the UK. It
I love
might
that.
not be with other family offices in the UK, but definitely I've seen a lot more reaching out.
Burr.
I hopefully we're going to see more kindness in the world in 2026, more collaboration, certainly more mobility, and hopefully also even more opportunities.
Definitely.
I think 2026 on a macro and a micro basis. Macro, I think in summary, AI is going to take changes and the way that we live, we work, we learn, we play to the next level. So be prepared, and I really encourage everyone to really learn and implement. On a micro level, for my own very exciting AI applied AI tech venture that we are co-building, where I'm an investor. I'm very active co-building it. I think we're gonna have some very exciting breakthrough next year. So
Yeah, that's exciting. And then last one, and then I'll give us a little closeout. But one habit every family office should adopt for 2026 and beyond.
I'd like to echo what Perth said there. Open door policy. You're always welcome to come in and have a cup of coffee, even if it's because you're coming out of the rain.
Like
And
that.
I would encourage people to listen, to work in teams with great teammates. Nobody has a monopoly in wisdom. Collaborate as a result, and do it with a good heart, an authentic heart. Follow your passion, follow your dreams, and make this world a better place by inspiring other people to do greater and bigger things, whether entrepreneurial or indeed philanthropic.
It's great advice.
yeah, I think in summary, adapt more of a visionary, a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, and that pretty much encompasses everything, right? Ourselves with other people, learn, and to contribute and adapt new skills to the next level. In fact, one article that I wrote, published in Impact Wealth magazine, published in fact, the Family Office magazine, they're going to publish it as well. They're working on that. It's called Single Family Offices and Ultra Net Worth Individual Investors: The Rise of Smart Direct AI Tech Investing. In that article, I talk about the fallacies of some of the GP LP funds. I talk about the importance of having a vision or growth mindset versus fixed mindset, and give some anecdotes and vignettes and some very kind of more qualitative data points and reasons why we have to move in a direction if we're not there yet. And I'm very quant, but I'm also very qualitative. But that particular article, I intentionally kind of keep it more qualitative to kind of have people reflect a little bit and what can we do to improve. So
Awesome. Yeah. This has been fantastic. Jason, Karen, thank you so much. Really, this has been fantastic, and this was an outstanding conversation and the perfect lead in to the Footprints Family Office Christmas edition for December 11th. To anyone listening, please follow the show on YouTube and Spotify. Connect with us on LinkedIn and share this episode with someone who you think would find it valuable. This is your Family Office podcast, where relationship drives opportunities and conversation drive decisions. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
thank you so
Merry
much. It's been an
Christmas.
honor.
All the best.
Thank you.
Merry
See you
Christmas.